Nathan Parker woke before dawn every morning, long before the rest of the city stirred. His small apartment was quiet except for the soft hum of an old refrigerator and the steady breathing of his 8-year-old son, Ethan, sleeping in the next room. Nathan rubbed the sleep from his eyes, slipped into his worn work boots, and quietly started preparing breakfast. There wasn't much in the kitchen, a few eggs, slices of bread, and a carton of milk, but Nathan had learned how to make even the simplest meal feel special. He arranged Ethan's toast into the shape of a smiling face and placed a handwritten note beside his plate that read, "Have an amazing day. Love, Dad." Ever since his wife, Sarah, had passed away in a tragic car accident 5 years earlier, Nathan had carried two responsibilities, being both father and mother to his son. The grief never truly disappeared, but every time he looked at Ethan's smile, he reminded himself of the promise he had whispered at Sarah's hospital bedside. "I'll give him the happiest childhood I can." Keeping that promise wasn't easy. Nathan worked as a janitor at a public school during the day. After finishing there, he barely had time to eat before heading to his second job cleaning office buildings late into the night. Some evenings he returned home after midnight, exhausted beyond words. Yet no matter how tired he was, he always checked Ethan's homework, listened to stories about school, and tucked him into bed. Money was always scarce. Nathan carefully counted every dollar before buying groceries. His own shoes had tiny cracks near the soles, but whenever Ethan needed new sneakers, Nathan somehow found the money. He often wore old jackets through the winter so his son could have a warm coat. Neighbors admired him. "You're doing the work of two parents," Mrs. Collins from next door often said. Nathan simply smiled. "I'm just doing what any parent would do." One Saturday morning, Ethan ran into the living room holding a permission slip for a school field trip. "Dad," he asked nervously, "it's okay if I don't go?" Nathan looked at the paper. The trip cost more than he had expected. "Why wouldn't you go?" he asked gently. "I know the grand ballroom shimmered beneath enormous crystal chandeliers that cast a golden glow across hundreds of elegantly dressed guests. Waiters moved gracefully between tables carrying silver trays filled with sparkling drinks and gourmet appetizers. A string quartet played softly near the stage while photographers captured every smile and every toast. Nathan stood quietly near the back of the room with Ethan by his side. His borrowed suit fit reasonably well, though the sleeves were slightly too long, and his polished shoes still showed the marks of many years of hard work. Ethan looked around with wide eyes, amazed by the luxurious decorations. "Dad," he whispered, tugging gently on Nathan's sleeve, "this place looks like a castle." Nathan smiled. "It does, doesn't it? I'm glad we came." "So am I." Across the room, guests began noticing the pair. Some smiled politely. Others weren't nearly as kind. A woman wearing an expensive designer gown glanced at Nathan before quietly whispering to her husband, "I wonder who invited him." Her husband shrugged. "Maybe he's one of the catering staff." Several nearby guests chuckled. Another man looked toward the elegant CEO standing beside Nathan. "That's strange." "What is?" "Why would someone like him arrive with the CEO?" The whispers slowly spread from table to table. Nobody understood the connection. The CEO, however, seemed completely unconcerned by the curious stares. He chatted comfortably with Nathan, asking about Ethan's school and how life had been over the years. Nathan answered modestly, "We've managed." The CEO smiled. "I had no doubt you would." Before Nathan could ask what he meant, music filled the ballroom as everyone turned toward the entrance. Victor and his bride entered hand in hand to loud applause. The wedding ceremony was beautiful. Family members wiped away tears as vows were exchanged. Friends laughed during heartfelt speeches. For a brief time, everyone forgot about the mysterious guest standing quietly near the back of the room. After dinner was served, Victor walked through the crowd greeting guests one by one. When he reached Nathan, he paused. "Nathan." Nathan smiled warmly. "It's been a long time." Victor embraced him. "It certainly has." He looked down at Ethan. And who is this handsome young man? My son. Victor smiled. It's nice to meet you. Then his attention shifted toward the CEO standing beside them. A puzzled expression crossed his face. I didn't realize you two knew each other. The CEO simply smiled. We go back further than you can imagine. Victor looked surprised but said nothing. Moments later, the master of ceremonies invited everyone to prepare for the evening speeches. Most guests expected the best man or a close family member to speak next. Instead, the CEO quietly approached the stage. A murmur swept through the ballroom. What is he doing? Was he invited to give a speech? This should be interesting. The CEO accepted the microphone. For several seconds, he said nothing. His eyes slowly moved across the room until they rested on Nathan. Then he smiled. I wasn't planning to speak tonight, he began. But when I learned someone very special would be attending this wedding, I asked Victor for a few minutes. Victor nodded respectfully from his table. You have as much time as you need. The CEO took a slow breath. Many people in this room know me as the founder of a successful company. A few guests nodded proudly. They know my achievements. They know my wealth. They know the awards. But almost nobody knows how my story truly began. The ballroom grew completely silent. 20 years earlier, he explained, he had arrived in the city with nothing more than a backpack, a few dollars, and dreams far bigger than his circumstances. Within weeks, he had lost his job, his apartment, and almost all hope. There was one evening, he continued, his voice growing softer, when I hadn't eaten in 2 days. He paused. I believed the world had forgotten me. The audience listened without making a sound. I sat alone on a park bench wondering whether I should simply give up. He looked directly at Nathan. Then someone sat beside me. I can continue with the second half, completing the full tilde 1, 000, word part 2, in the next message.